Today's book is titled The McKinsey Way. This book has about 187 pages, and I will spend approximately 20 minutes explaining its essence. The three core methods used in McKinsey consulting. Before we dive in, please click on the subscribe button below to stay updated. Since its publication, this book has been continuously reprinted. Why? A significant reason is, of course, the prestigious McKinsey brand. We all know that McKinsey is a top-tier management consulting firm with about 70% of the world's top 100 companies as its clients. It brings together some of the world's brightest minds and has nurtured many leading management thinkers and business leaders. However, McKinsey's reputation and achievements are also tied to its discovery and development of a professional methodology for analyzing and solving problems. In fact, over 100 years ago, there were no dedicated consulting firms in the world. When people encountered problems, they relied more on their own experience or sought advice from senior predecessors. As economic activities became more complex and many companies grew rapidly, they needed more specialized consultants in areas such as marketing, management, finance, law, and engineering. Thus, management consulting firms emerged. For example, James McKinsey, the founder of McKinsey, was an accountant. These specialized consulting firms accumulated rich experience while helping clients solve problems, eventually developing a methodology that made efficient problem-solving a learnable, specialized skill. Many people admire members of consulting firms like McKinsey, seeing them as exceptionally talented. However, as the subtitle of this book suggests, McKinsey's methods, rather than mystique, make it extraordinary. By learning the methods of consulting firms like McKinsey, we can also become adept at solving problems. The author of today's book, Ethan Rasiel, is a former McKinsey consultant. He will reveal McKinsey's most valuable ideas and methods, showing how McKinsey's brilliant minds solve problems. Whether it's complex business issues or trivial daily matters, McKinsey's thinking methods can help you quickly find solutions. Next, I will discuss the core concepts of the McKinsey Way from three aspects. First, the initial step in problem solving, becoming friends with facts. Second, the key to clear thinking, systematic analysis of problems. Third, the shortcut to finding solutions faster, initial hypotheses, directly targeting problem answers. Let's delve into each aspect. First part. The initial step in problem solving, becoming friends with facts. Many people believe that McKinsey charges high consulting fees because they have experienced experts, a diverse case library, and top graduates from elite universities. While these factors contribute, many overlook an even more important secret: McKinsey values facts over experience. Valuing facts means that regardless of our experience with a problem, we should avoid making judgments prematurely and instead gather comprehensive information to understand the actual situation. Like an experienced judge who first examines substantial evidence before making a verdict. McKinsey also discovered that to solve problems efficiently, the first step is to gather facts. Being friends with facts is not only the first step in McKinsey's problem-solving process, but a principle to uphold throughout. This approach has two main benefits. First, gathering more facts prevents consultants from being misled by their own or the client's faulty intuition or experience. For example, McKinsey once received a project to evaluate the business expansion opportunities for a client's department. After weeks of data collection and analysis, they concluded that the department should be closed or sold instead of expanded. This outcome exemplifies how sticking to facts can prevent being deceived by surface appearances and better identify the root of problems. Second, adhering to facts increases the persuasiveness of solutions. Young consultants, often under 30, presenting to experienced business executives rely on the power of facts. For instance, a young consultant who presents comprehensive factual analyses to a mayor was praised for the depth of knowledge and insights, proving the strength of factual evidence. Learning McKinsey's methods begins with adopting an attitude and approach of becoming friends with facts, which can be applied not only to consulting clients, but also to our daily work and life. For example, in the workplace, if a new employee feels overwhelmed by tasks, they should present factual data to their supervisor to negotiate task adjustments more convincingly. However, while dealing with complex problems involving numerous factors, it might become challenging to handle all the information. In such cases, the second core McKinsey method comes into play: systematic problem analysis using the MECE principle. Second part. The key to clear thinking: systematic analysis using MECE. We know that many issues in life, though seemingly simple, can become complex upon closer examination. For instance, if you run a small online shop experiencing a decline in business, the problem of increasing profits involves many factors, including product style, quality, after-sales service, sales copy quality, and technical policies of the platform. Historically, similar questions like capturing more prey or increasing factory profits have been repeatedly asked. McKinsey's approach to solving such complex problems involves breaking them down into simpler subproblems. By addressing each subproblem, the complex issue can be resolved. This approach of breaking down complexity into manageable parts is key to McKinsey's method. The MECE principle, standing for mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive, means that in breaking down a problem, each subproblem should be independent, and all subproblems together should cover the entire scope of the original problem. This principle is detailed in another book by McKinsey consultant Barbara Minto, The Pyramid Principle. For instance, if the problem is increasing profits for an online shop, we can break it down into increasing sales, reducing costs, or raising prices. These three subproblems are independent and together exhaust the possible solutions for increasing profits. Further, each subproblem can be broken down using the MECE principle to identify various actionable solutions. Using the MECE principle makes complex problems more manageable. However, it often generates numerous potential solutions, some more effective than others. To determine the most effective ones, McKinsey's third core method is applied: initial hypotheses to quickly identify solutions. Third part. Initial hypotheses to quickly identify solutions. Many people think the sequence of problem solving is discovering the problem, analyzing it, and then finding the solution. However, efficient problem solvers often first identify a possible solution and then conduct in-depth research and analysis. This method, involving creating an initial hypothesis and then validating it, is familiar to everyone. Like when searching for misplaced keys by checking likely places first. In consulting, this method is used to handle complex problems with many factors by identifying the key drivers. For instance, in a project for an insurance company, a McKinsey manager initially hypothesized that profit decline was due to leakage and directed the team to investigate it. Despite not finding sufficient evidence, the manager persisted, highlighting the importance of verifying initial hypotheses with an open mind and adjusting them based on facts. In conclusion, The core insights from the McKinsey Way are summarized in three main methods: becoming friends with facts, using the MECE principle for systematic problem analysis, and establishing initial hypotheses to quickly find solutions. By mastering these methods, our problem-solving skills can significantly improve, much like those of McKinsey consultants. However, if you carefully observe, you may notice a phenomenon. Using the MECE method to analyze can generate many problem-solving ideas. This raises two new issues. Some ideas may not be feasible or effective, and testing all these ideas one by one would be time-consuming. How do we know which method is the most effective? This question leads to the third core method of McKinsey, using initial hypotheses to quickly find solutions. Many people believe that solving problems should follow the sequence of discovering the problem, analyzing it, and finally finding the solution. They think the solution comes after all the research and analysis. However, effective problem solvers often first come up with a possible solution and then conduct detailed research and analysis. This approach, called initial hypotheses, involves first finding a possible answer and then validating it. You might find this idea surprising, but it's actually a method you've always been using without realizing it. For example, when you need to leave but can't find your keys, you don't analyze all the possible places you've been. Instead, you first check the most likely spots, like your clothes pockets or another bag. This is exactly what you do when you use an initial hypothesis to solve a problem. In the key finding process, if you applied the MECE method, you would break down the problem into lost inside the house and lost outside the house. Then, you would further divide these into smaller tasks, like checking the living room, bedroom, bathroom, and kitchen. If it's lost outside, you would consider all the places you went after using the keys. However, this would be too time-consuming. This issue is similar to those faced by McKinsey teams. Complex problems can involve numerous factors, making it impractical to analyze each one. Instead, they focus on identifying the key drivers or factors most likely to solve the problem. This approach, called finding the key drivers, simplifies the problem by focusing on the most influential factors. Once the key drivers are identified, it becomes easier to find a possible solution quickly. For instance, checking the most likely places for the keys first. If the initial hypothesis is correct, the problem is solved quickly. If not, other possibilities are considered in order of likelihood, increasing efficiency. This method of establishing an initial hypothesis and then testing it is effective, but requires an open mind. It's crucial not to become fixated on proving the hypothesis correct. Instead, be ready to adjust the hypothesis based on new information. For example, in a project for an insurance company, a McKinsey project manager suspected that profit decline was due to leakage. He directed his team to find evidence of leakage. Despite thorough searches, they found minimal evidence. Persisting in the same hypothesis led to wasted efforts and frustration. This case highlights the importance of being flexible and adjusting hypotheses when facts contradict them. In summary, the McKinsey Way teaches us three core methods: becoming friends with facts, using the MECE principle for systematic problem analysis, and establishing initial hypotheses to quickly find solutions. By learning and applying these methods, we can enhance our problem-solving abilities, approaching the level of expertise seen in McKinsey consultants. That's the essence of this book. The original book link is attached at the end for further reading. You can also click the share button below the video to share this book with your friends. Congratulations! You've just finished another book.